What if the secret to staying calm under pressure wasn't some modern self-help trick, but a 2,000-year-old philosophy? Picture this. You're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting, and your phone just died. Most people would spiral into frustration, but what if you could flip that stress into focus with a simple mental shift? That's the power of Stoicism, not just dusty old books, but real tools for modern life. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending life is perfect. It's about training your mind to see challenges as opportunities, to focus on what you can control, and to find strength even when things go wrong. And the best part, you don't need to be a philosopher to use it. In this video, we're breaking down 25 Stoic practices you can start using today, small habits that build unshakable motivation, resilience, and clarity. From morning routines that set the tone for your day, to mental exercises that turn obstacles into fuel, these aren't just ideas. They're actionable steps tested by emperors, slaves, and everyone in between. So whether you're dealing with burnout, uncertainty, or just the daily grind, stick around. By the end, you'll have a toolkit to transform not just how you think, but how you live. Ready to train your mind like a Stoic? Let's dive in. Now let's begin with the first practice, one that sets the tone for your entire day: morning reflection. Imagine waking up and instead of immediately reaching for your phone or diving into the chaos of the day, you take just 5 to 10 minutes to ground yourself in purpose. This is what the Stoics called their morning ritual, and it's a game changer for clarity and focus. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, famously wrote in his personal journal, now known as Meditations, about starting each day by reminding himself of what he could control and what he couldn't. He'd ask himself questions like, what virtue will I strengthen today? Or, what challenges might arise and how will I meet them with wisdom? This wasn't just philosophical musing, it was mental preparation. Here's how you can structure your own Stoic morning reflection. First, find a quiet space, even if it's just sitting on the edge of your bed. Then ask yourself 3 key questions. What's within my control today? What obstacles might I face, and how can I turn them into opportunities? And finally, what kind of person do I want to be by the day's end? These questions anchor you in the Stoic principles of focus, resilience, and virtue. The benefits go beyond motivation. Studies show that intentional reflection reduces stress and sharpens decision-making by helping you prioritize what truly matters. It's like giving your mind a roadmap before the journey begins. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write these reflections for posterity, he used them to lead an empire with calm and purpose. And you can use them to lead your day with the same intention. So tomorrow morning, before the world pulls you in a dozen directions, steal a few quiet moments to reflect like a Stoic. It's a small habit with monumental ripple effects, and when you're ready, we'll move to the next practice, visualizing the worst to fear it the least. Now let's shift gears to a practice that might sound counterintuitive at first, but is incredibly powerful: negative visualization, or what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum. This isn't about pessimism, it's about preparedness. By deliberately imagining the worst-case scenarios, you strip them of their power to shock or derail you. Think of it as emotional armor forged in advance. The ancient Stoics like Seneca and Epictetus regularly practiced this. Seneca would remind himself that his wealth, status, and even his loved ones were temporary. Epictetus urged his students to rehearse losing everything, not to dwell in fear, but to realize that even the worst outcomes were survivable. Modern psychology backs this up. Studies show that mentally rehearsing challenges reduces anxiety and boosts resilience when those challenges actually arise. Here's how to put it into action. Start small. Before an important meeting, take a moment to ask, what's the worst that could happen? Maybe you'll stumble over your words or the client will say no. Then visualize yourself responding calmly, adjusting, adapting, even laughing it off. This isn't about manifesting disaster, it's about proving to yourself that you can handle it. Next, apply it to bigger things. Imagine losing a job, a relationship, or your health. Sit with that discomfort briefly, then ask, how would I rebuild? This exercise isn't meant to paralyze you, it's meant to liberate you. When you realize you can endure the worst, everyday stressors lose their grip. The beauty of negative visualization is that it doesn't just prepare you for hardship, it makes you appreciate what you have right now. By confronting loss in your mind, you deepen gratitude for the present. Seneca put it perfectly, he who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. So the next time you feel anxiety creeping in, don't push it away. Lean into it, dissect it, and disarm it. And when you're ready, we'll explore another Stoic tool, the Dichotomy of Control, to help you focus your energy where it truly matters. Now let's turn to one of the most liberating ideas in Stoicism, the Dichotomy of Control. This principle, championed by Epictetus, is simple yet transformative. It teaches us to focus only on what's within our power and let go of the rest. Imagine carrying a mental filter that separates the things you can influence from the things you can't. That's the essence of this practice. Epictetus put it bluntly, some things are within our control while others are not. Our opinions, actions, and desires. Fully ours to shape, external events, other people's choices, or even the weather, not so much. The frustration we feel in life often comes from blurring this line, wasting energy trying to change what's beyond us. Take modern work stress, for example. You can't control a demanding boss or sudden layoffs, but you can control how you prepare, how you communicate, and how you adapt. In relationships, you can't force someone to treat you a certain way, but you can choose your boundaries and responses. The moment you internalize this distinction, anxiety loses its grip. Here's how to apply it daily. When faced with a challenge, pause and ask, is this within my control? If yes, take purposeful action. If no, practice acceptance. This isn't passivity, it's strategic focus. The Stoics weren't suggesting we ignore external problems. They were urging us to direct our efforts where they'll actually make a difference. Think of it like sailing. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust the sails. That shift in mindset from frustration to agency is where resilience is born. And when you pair this with the previous practice of negative visualization, you're not just preparing for storms, you're learning to navigate them with clarity. Up next, we'll explore how to not just accept but embrace whatever life throws your way with the Stoic concept of Amor Fati. Because sometimes the wind changes direction in ways that surprise us. Now let's dive into one of the most powerful Stoic mindsets, Amor Fati, or loving your fate. This isn't about passive resignation, it's about actively embracing whatever life hands you, even the hardships. Friedrich Nietzsche, though not a Stoic himself, famously adopted this idea, writing, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati. That one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." The Stoics took it further. Seneca, exiled to Corsica by Emperor Claudius, didn't just endure his punishment, he transformed it. In his letters, he wrote about using exile to deepen his studies, sharpen his philosophy, and even find humor in the situation. Instead of railing against his fate, he asked, what if this isn't a setback but an opportunity? That shift in perspective is the heart of Amor Fati. Here's how to practice it. When faced with a setback, a missed promotion, a failed project, even a traffic jam, pause and ask, how can this serve me? Maybe the delay gives you time to reflect. Maybe the rejection redirects you to a better path. The Stoics believed that obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're the raw material for growth. Think of it like forging metal. Fire and hammer blows don't destroy the blade, they shape it. Amor Fati trains you to see life's challenges as your personal forge. And when you combine this with the dichotomy of control, you're not just accepting what you can't change, you're finding value in it. Coming up, we'll tackle another bold Stoic practice, voluntary discomfort. Because sometimes the best way to appreciate the fire is to step into it willingly. Now let's shift gears to a practice that might seem counterintuitive at first: voluntary discomfort. The Stoics didn't just wait for life to challenge them, they actively sought out hardship to build resilience. This idea traces back to the Cynics, those radical philosophers who lived like beggars to prove happiness didn't depend on comfort. Diogenes, the most famous Cynic, slept in a tub and owned nothing but a wooden bowl until he saw a child drinking water with his hands and threw even that away. The Stoics took this further, turning discomfort into a training tool. Seneca, despite his wealth, practiced poverty regularly. He'd wear rough clothing, eat plain food, and sleep on a hard bed. Why? To remind himself that happiness isn't tied to luxury. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days to eat only the cheapest food and wear your roughest clothes, and ask yourself, is this what I used to dread? Here's how to apply this today." Start small. Take a cold shower instead of a hot one. Skip a meal to fast for a few hours, or leave your phone at home during a walk. These acts aren't about punishing yourself, but about proving that discomfort won't break you. Each time you willingly face something unpleasant, you chip away at fear and build gratitude for what you have. Think of it like mental weightlifting. Just as muscles grow stronger under resistance, your mind toughens when you push it beyond comfort. And when real hardship comes, because it always does, you'll meet it with confidence, not panic. Up next, we'll explore another transformative habit: Stoic journaling. Because the right words on paper can turn chaos into clarity. Now let's turn to a practice that turns reflection into action: journaling like a Stoic. This isn't just about writing down your thoughts. It's a structured way to examine your day, confront your flaws, and track your growth. Epictetus, the former slave turned philosopher, was a firm believer in this. He taught that we should approach journaling like a surgeon examining a wound honestly, without flinching, to heal what's broken. Start with a simple prompt each evening. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? And where did I fall short? Be specific. Maybe you lost patience in a conversation or avoided a task out of fear. The goal isn't self-criticism but clarity. Marcus Aurelius filled his journals with these kinds of questions, writing, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Next, add a Stoic twist. Instead of just listing events, ask, how could I have responded more virtuously? Tie it to the 4 Stoic virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. For example, if you snapped at a coworker, journal about how patience, temperance, or understanding wisdom could have shifted the outcome. Finally, track progress weekly. Look for patterns. Are the same challenges recurring? Are you improving? This isn't about perfection but awareness. As Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, "Every night before sleep, I replay my day and ask, what weakness did I conquer? What temptation resist?" Journaling like this turns chaos into order. It's not just ink on paper, it's a mirror for your soul. And when you see yourself clearly, growth becomes inevitable. Coming up, we'll dive into one of the most profound Stoic practices, Memento Mori, because remembering how fleeting life is can transform how you live it. Now let's explore a practice that cuts straight to the heart of what it means to live fully: Memento Mori, the art of remembering death. This isn't about fear or morbidity. It's a tool the Stoics used to sharpen their focus on what truly matters. Picture Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, writing to himself each morning, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." That's the power of this practice. Start by pausing each day to reflect on life's fragility. It could be as simple as glancing at a skull figurine, a common Stoic symbol, or silently acknowledging that today might be your last. The point isn't to dwell on the end, but to use it as a lens. Ask yourself, if this were my final day, would I spend it this way? Suddenly, trivial worries fade and what's meaningful rises to the surface. History is full of reminders. The ancient Romans kept mosaics of skeletons at their banquet tables, not to kill the mood but to elevate it. Seneca put it bluntly, death is the one law no one can bribe their way out of. By facing it head-on, we strip away illusions and excuses. Procrastination, vanity, pettiness, they crumble under the weight of this truth. But here's the twist: Memento Mori isn't just about urgency. It's about gratitude. When you truly grasp that time is limited, ordinary moments become extraordinary. A shared meal, a quiet walk, even a challenge all become gifts. As Epictetus taught, keep death and exile before your eyes daily, and you'll never have a base thought or excessive desire. This practice isn't morbid, it's liberating. By remembering we're temporary, we stop wasting time on what doesn't serve us, and that's how you live a life with no regrets. Up next, we'll shift to a practice that lifts your perspective literally. The view from above, a meditation technique that turns daily stress into cosmic insignificance. Now let's rise above the noise, literally, with the next Stoic practice, the view from above. This powerful meditation technique, favored by Marcus Aurelius, helps you zoom out from life's daily frustrations and see the bigger picture. Imagine yourself floating high above the earth, watching your problems shrink to the size of specks. That's the essence of this exercise, trading overwhelm for clarity. Start by closing your eyes and visualizing yourself lifting away from the ground, higher and higher, until you see your city, then your country, then the entire planet. From this vantage point, traffic jams, disagreements, and deadlines lose their grip. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How tiny a part of the boundless abyss of time is allotted to each of us." That's not meant to diminish your struggles, but to remind you how much they're magnified by proximity. The beauty of this practice lies in its simplicity. You don't need hours, just a few moments to mentally step back. Picture the Earth as a pale blue dot in space, teeming with billions of lives, each with their own joys and sorrows. Suddenly, that rude coworker or missed opportunity feels less like a catastrophe and more like a fleeting ripple in a vast ocean. Marcus used this to stay grounded as emperor. Amid wars and politics, he'd remind himself, soon you'll be ashes or bones, a mere name at best. Not to despair, but to prioritize. When you see life from this cosmic scale, you stop sweating the small stuff and focus on what endures: your character, your values, your impact. Try it the next time stress mounts. Breathe, zoom out, and let the universe's quiet grandeur put things in place, because sometimes the best way to move forward is to rise above. Coming up, we'll explore how the Stoics harnessed something as simple as breath to steady the mind. A technique as practical today as it was 2,000 years ago. Now let's take a deep breath literally as we dive into the next Stoic practice, one that connects the mind and body in the simplest yet most profound way. Stoic breathing exercises, inspired by Cleans, the second leader of the Stoic school, offer a timeless tool to steady your thoughts and regain control when emotions run high. Think of your breath as an anchor, something you always carry with you, ready to ground you in any storm. Cleans, who worked as a water carrier before becoming a philosopher, understood the power of rhythm, both in labor and in life. He taught that controlled breathing isn't just about oxygen, it's about creating space between stimulus and response. When stress hits, your breath is the first thing to change. But here's the Stoic twist: by consciously slowing it down, you reclaim command over your reactions. Here's how to practice it. First, find a quiet spot and sit upright, as if a string is pulling you gently toward the sky. Close your eyes and inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4. Feel the air filling your lungs, expanding your ribs. Hold it for another 4 counts, then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 counts. That imbalance, longer exhales than inhales, triggers your body's relaxation response, dialing down tension. Repeat this cycle 5 times. With each breath, imagine releasing distractions like leaves floating down a stream. Cleans believed breath was a bridge between the physical and the mental, a way to tune the soul, just as you'd tune an instrument. Modern science agrees. Studies show rhythmic breathing reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and sharpens focus. The beauty of this practice, you can do it anywhere, before a meeting, in traffic, even mid-argument. The Stoics didn't wait for chaos to pass, they used breath to navigate through it. As Epictetus said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen twice as much as we speak. Sometimes the most powerful response is a silent, steady breath. Up next, we'll explore how the Stoics planned their days with intention, turning anticipation into a superpower, because foresight, as Seneca proved, is the antidote to frustration. Now let's shift our focus from the rhythm of breath to the rhythm of the day itself. The 10th Stoic practice, premeditation of the day, is about stepping into your hours with clarity and purpose. Seneca, in his letters, called this rehearsing adversity in advance, not to dwell on fear but to disarm it. Imagine starting each morning not just with a to-do list, but with a mental map of potential challenges and how you'll meet them. That's Stoic foresight in action. Seneca wrote, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." In other words, surprises hit harder when we're unprepared. But when you anticipate obstacles, a difficult conversation, a delayed project, even bad weather, you strip them of their power to derail you. This isn't pessimism, it's strategic readiness. Picture a general surveying the battlefield before the fight. By spotting pitfalls early, you turn them into stepping stones. Here's how to apply it. Each morning, take 2 minutes to ask yourself, what could go wrong today? Then, visualize yourself handling those scenarios with calm and resourcefulness. If your presentation tech fails, you'll have backup notes. If traffic stalls you, you'll listen to a podcast instead of fuming. Seneca called this preparing the mind to meet the blows of fortune. By rehearsing responses, you train your brain to default to solutions, not panic. The key is balance. Don't obsess over every possible mishap, just the likely ones. And pair each challenge with a virtue: patience for long waits, courage for tough talks, wisdom for tricky decisions. This practice roots you in Stoic values before the day even begins. Modern psychology backs this up. Studies show that mental rehearsal improves performance, whether you're an athlete or a CEO. Seneca's own life proved its worth. Exiled to Corsica, he transformed hardship into philosophy by anticipating it. "Fate leads the willing," he wrote, "and drags the unwilling." Premeditation lets you walk willingly, even when the path is steep. Up next, we'll see how Marcus Aurelius turned obstacles into fuel, because sometimes the very thing blocking you becomes the way forward. Now let's explore how obstacles can transform from roadblocks into stepping stones. The 11th Stoic practice, turning obstacles into fuel, is embodied in Marcus Aurelius' famous words: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This isn't just philosophy, it's a mindset shift that turns adversity into advantage. Think of it like fire, a destructive force if uncontrolled, but harnessed, it becomes energy. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write this idea, he lived it. Facing rebellions, plagues, and personal losses as emperor, he saw each challenge as material for growth. Modern psychology calls this post-traumatic growth, but Stoics practiced it centuries ago. Take business leaders like Steve Jobs, who credited his early firing from Apple for fueling his creative rebirth. Or athletes like Michael Jordan, cut from his high school team, who used rejection as motivation to train harder. These aren't exceptions, they're examples of the Stoic principle in action. Here's how to apply it. When you hit a setback, pause and ask, how can this serve me? A missed promotion could push you to build new skills. A failed project might reveal a better direction. Marcus wrote, "Our actions may be impeded, but there can be no impeding our intentions or dispositions." In other words, while you can't control the obstacle, you control what you do with it. Consider the case of Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx. She faced countless rejections early on, but each no became data to refine her pitch. Or marathon runner Eliud Kipchoge, who trains in extreme conditions to make race day feel easier. Both embody the Stoic art of alchemy, turning leaden setbacks into golden opportunities. The key is reframing. Instead of "this is stopping me," ask, "what is this teaching me?" Marcus Aurelius called this seeing with new eyes. Modern research agrees. People who view challenges as chances to adapt outperform those who see them as threats. Next, we'll uncover how intentional silence, practiced by Stoics like Musonius Rufus, can sharpen your focus in a noisy world, because sometimes the loudest wisdom comes from saying nothing at all. Now let's shift our focus to a practice that might seem counterintuitive in today's world of constant noise, the 12th Stoic practice, practicing silence. In an era where everyone is eager to speak, the Stoics understood the profound power of holding back. Musonius Rufus, one of the great Stoic teachers, emphasized that mastering silence is just as important as mastering speech. He believed that unnecessary words drain energy and distract us from deeper reflection, while intentional silence builds patience, clarity, and self-control. Think about how often we react impulsively, sending a heated text, interrupting someone mid-conversation, or filling every quiet moment with chatter. The Stoics saw this as a loss of discipline. Instead, they trained themselves to pause, listen, and speak only when necessary. Musonius taught that silence isn't just the absence of noise, it's an active practice of restraint, giving us space to choose our words carefully and respond rather than react. Here's how to apply this today. Start small. Try taking 5 minutes each morning to sit in silence before checking your phone. Notice how it sharpens your focus. In conversations, practice listening fully without planning your reply. You'll find that silence often leads to wiser, more thoughtful responses. Even in conflict, a deliberate pause can diffuse tension and reveal solutions that hasty words might obscure. History offers striking examples. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, despite his immense power, was known for his measured speech. He wrote in his private journal, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." That's the essence of Stoic silence, not letting external noise dictate your inner state. Modern leaders like Warren Buffett and Ruth Bader Ginsburg were also celebrated for their ability to listen deeply and speak sparingly, proving that this ancient practice remains timeless. The next time you feel the urge to fill the air with words, ask yourself, is this necessary? Is it kind? Is it true? Musonius Rufus warned that careless speech is like a leaky vessel. It wastes what's precious. But intentional silence, that's where wisdom grows. Up next, we'll explore how studying Stoic role models can provide a blueprint for living with purpose. Because sometimes the best way forward is to follow in the footsteps of those who have walked the path before us. Now let's turn our attention to another powerful Stoic tool, learning from those who have already walked the path. The 13th practice is about studying Stoic role models, figures who embodied these principles so fully that their lives became textbooks of resilience and virtue. Take Cato the Younger, for example. This Roman senator wasn't just a Stoic, he was living proof of its ideals, refusing to compromise his integrity even when it cost him everything. His defiance against Julius Caesar's tyranny wasn't reckless bravery. It was a calculated commitment to justice, showing us that principles matter more than outcomes. But how do we learn from these figures without just admiring them from a distance? Here's a practical template. First, identify a specific challenge you're facing, maybe procrastination, fear of failure, or people-pleasing. Then ask yourself, how would Cato have approached this? When he faced corruption in Rome's government, he didn't complain. He took relentless action within his control. Or consider Epictetus, born enslaved yet unshaken by external circumstances. His focus wasn't on changing his chains, but on mastering his mind. These aren't just stories, they're blueprints. The key is ethical comparison. Don't just contrast their achievements with yours. That leads to frustration. Instead, compare your choices. When you're tempted to cut corners at work, ask, would Seneca, who exposed financial fraud as Nero's advisor, have stayed silent? When you're overwhelmed by modern distractions, reflect on how Marcus Aurelius led an empire while writing profound meditations by candlelight. Their lives weren't easier, they were just better navigated. This practice isn't about perfection. Even Stoic icons stumbled. What made them role models was their relentless return to virtue. So start small. Pick one figure, perhaps Zeno, who turned shipwreck into philosophy, or poor Epictetus, who proved courage isn't gendered. Study one of their decisions weekly, then apply that lens to your own life. Over time, you'll notice your internal compass aligning with theirs. Up next, we'll dive into the 4 core Stoic virtues, because knowing what to aim for is just as important as having heroes to guide us. After all, even the brightest lanterns are useless if we don't know the destination. Now let's ground ourselves in the very foundation of Stoic philosophy, the 4 cardinal virtues that serve as the compass for every decision and action. Wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance aren't just abstract ideas, they're daily practices that shape how we engage with the world. Start with wisdom, the ability to see things clearly and act with discernment. The Stoics didn't equate wisdom with mere knowledge. It's about applying reason to navigate life's complexities. A simple exercise: pause before reacting to any situation and ask, what would a wise person see here that I'm missing? It could be as mundane as resisting the urge to interrupt in a heated discussion, or as significant as re-evaluating a long-held assumption. Next, courage, often misunderstood as the absence of fear. True Stoic courage means acting rightly despite fear. Think of it as showing up for a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, or persisting in a meaningful project when self-doubt creeps in. Try this each morning. Identify one thing you've been sidestepping out of apprehension, then take one small step toward it before noon. Justice to the Stoics wasn't just about fairness in court, it's about contributing to the common good in everyday interactions. It's returning the extra change a cashier accidentally gave you, speaking up for a colleague who's being overlooked, or choosing kindness even when others don't deserve it. Tonight, reflect, where did I prioritize my convenience over what was fair today? Finally, temperance, the art of restraint. In a world of endless distractions and indulgences, this virtue is perhaps the most countercultural. It's saying no to that third drink when you've had enough, setting boundaries with your time, or walking away from gossip. Practice it by introducing one deliberate no this week, whether to a frivolous purchase, a toxic habit, or an emotional reaction that doesn't serve you. These virtues aren't meant to be perfected overnight. They're muscles to strengthen through repetition. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be one." So start with one virtue today. Tomorrow, build on it. Coming up, we'll explore how the Stoics trained their minds to pause before reacting, because even the noblest intentions need discipline to take root. After all, what good is knowing the right path if we can't steady ourselves to walk it? Now let's turn our attention to one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit, the discipline of assent. Imagine your mind as a fortress, and every thought or impression that comes your way as a visitor knocking at the gate. Epictetus taught us to station a guard at that door, someone who pauses before letting anything in. This isn't about suppressing emotions or ignoring reality. It's about creating space between what happens and how we choose to respond. Think of it like this: when someone cuts you off in traffic, your first impression might be anger. That's natural, but the discipline of assent asks you to stop right there before that anger turns into honking, shouting, or stewing for the rest of your drive. Instead, you examine the impression. Is this driver's action really about you? Does reacting this way serve you? Often, you'll find the answer is no. Here's how to practice it. First, catch yourself in the moment. That split second when you feel a reaction bubbling up. Whether it's frustration at a delayed flight or irritation at a coworker's comment, that's your cue to pause. Next, question the impression. Ask, is this within my control? Is my interpretation accurate? Am I adding unnecessary judgment to this situation? Finally, choose your response deliberately, not reflexively. Epictetus called this the power of the pause, and it's astonishing how much freedom it unlocks. You're no longer at the mercy of every passing thought or emotion. Instead, you become the gatekeeper of your own mind. Try it today. Pick one situation where you'd normally react on autopilot and instead pause. Let that guard at the door do its job. You might just find that most of what knocks doesn't deserve to come in. Up next, we'll dive into Stoic time management, because mastering your mind is only half the battle. The other half, making every moment count. Now let's shift gears to something we all struggle with: time. Seneca, one of Stoicism's sharpest minds, wrote a whole letter called On the Shortness of Life, and his message is as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. He argued that life isn't short, we just waste too much of it. Think about that for a second. How often do we lose hours to distractions, procrastination, or things that don't really matter? Seneca's solution: treat time like the precious resource it is. Here's how to apply his wisdom today. First, audit your time like a Stoic. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what did I do that truly aligned with my values? How much time was spent on autopilot, scrolling, worrying, or chasing things that don't fulfill me? This isn't about guilt, it's about awareness. Seneca called out busyness for the sake of busyness. Just because your calendar is full doesn't mean your life is meaningful. Next, embrace the power of deep time. Modern productivity hacks like time blocking have roots in Stoicism. Set aside chunks of your day for focused, undistracted work on what matters most. Turn off notifications, silence your phone, and guard those hours like a Stoic guards their mind. Remember, every minute you give to distractions is a minute stolen from your goals. Finally, practice the Stoic art of saying no. Seneca warned that we often let others dictate how we spend our time, obligations, social pressures, even pointless meetings. But here's the thing, when you say yes to everything, you're saying no to what truly matters. Prioritize ruthlessly. Ask, is this essential? Does it serve my growth or my peace? If not, let it go. Stoic time management isn't about squeezing more into your day. It's about squeezing more out of each moment, because as Seneca put it, life is long enough if you know how to use it. Up next, we'll explore gratitude rituals, because once you master your time, the next step is appreciating the moments you've reclaimed. Now let's turn our attention to something that can transform how we end our days: gratitude. The Stoics didn't just see gratitude as a feel-good habit. They tied it to something deeper, their understanding of physics, the idea that everything in the universe is interconnected. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this, reminding himself that even the air he breathed and the food he ate were gifts from nature's web. That's the Stoic twist. Gratitude isn't just about counting blessings, it's about recognizing your place in a vast, interdependent system. Here's how to bring this ancient practice into your evenings. Start with a simple but powerful ritual. Before bed, take 5 minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. But here's the key: connect them to something larger. For example, instead of just writing, "I'm grateful for my meal," reflect on the farmers, the soil, even the sunlight that made it possible. This shifts gratitude from a personal checklist to a meditation on interconnectedness, just as the Stoics intended. Next, try the circle of influence exercise. Draw 2 concentric circles in your journal. In the inner circle, list things you directly control: your efforts, your attitudes. In the outer circle, note external gifts, health, relationships, even challenges that taught you something. This visual practice, inspired by Stoic physics, helps you see how much you rely on the world and how much you contribute back. Finally, borrow from Seneca's nightly routine. He ended each day by asking, "What did I receive today? What did I give?" This two-part question keeps gratitude active, not passive. It's not just about appreciating what came to you, it's about acknowledging what you put into the world. That balance is pure Stoicism. Gratitude, done the Stoic way, turns ordinary moments into reminders of how we're all woven into the same fabric. And when you see life that way, even hardships can feel like threads in a larger tapestry. Up next, we'll tackle how Stoics handle criticism, because once you've cultivated gratitude, you'll need resilience to protect it. Now let's shift gears to something every one of us faces: criticism. Whether it's a snide comment from a coworker or harsh feedback online, insults can sting. But the Stoics, especially Musonius Rufus, had a game plan for this. He taught that criticism isn't about you, it's about the person dishing it out. Your power lies in how you respond, not in how others choose to act. Here's how to put this into practice. First, pause. When someone throws an insult your way, don't react immediately. Take a breath and ask yourself, is this true? If it is, thank them. Feedback, even poorly delivered, can help you grow. If it's not, let it roll off like water off a duck's back. Musonius Rufus called this the shield of indifference, not because you're emotionless, but because you refuse to let someone else's words dictate your peace. Next, reframe the insult as a test. Imagine the critic as a teacher handing you a pop quiz on your Stoic progress. Can you stay calm? Can you find a kernel of truth in their words? This mindset turns an attack into a chance to practice virtue. For example, if someone mocks your work, instead of firing back, say, "I appreciate your perspective. What specifically would you improve?" This disarms them and keeps you in control. Finally, role-play modern scenarios. Picture your boss dismissing your idea in a meeting. Stoically, you'd acknowledge their concern without defensiveness, then ask for constructive feedback. Or if a stranger online calls you names, you'd either ignore it or respond with humor, showing their words have no power over you. Handling criticism like a Stoic doesn't mean being a doormat. It means choosing your battles wisely and never letting someone else's negativity derail your inner calm. Up next, we'll explore the art of mental withdrawal, because sometimes stepping back is the strongest move you can make. Now let's step into a quieter space, one where the noise of the world fades and clarity takes center stage. The Stoics understood the power of stepping back, and Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, carved out moments of solitude to reflect and recharge. This practice isn't about running from life's chaos, but creating intentional distance to see it more clearly. Think of it like hitting pause on a crowded movie scene. Suddenly, you notice details you missed before. Marcus called these mental retreats inner citadels, safe havens where you could untangle thoughts without outside interference. Here's how to build yours. Start small. Dedicate just 5 minutes daily to sit in silence, away from screens and distractions. Let your mind wander without judgment, observing thoughts like clouds passing by. Next, use these moments to ask bigger questions. Marcus often reflected, "What is this thing I'm so stressed about? Will it matter in a year?" This zoomed-out perspective shrinks problems to their true size. For example, if a work conflict feels overwhelming, mentally withdraw to ask, "Is this worth my energy?" Often, the answer reveals a wiser path forward. Finally, schedule longer retreats when possible. A weekend hike, a solo coffee shop hour, or even a quiet bath can become your modern-day Stoic sanctuary. The key isn't the setting but the mindset, using solitude to reconnect with your values, not escape them. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is step back to move forward with purpose. Up next, we'll bridge mind and body with Stoic physical training, because resilience isn't just mental. Now let's shift from mental retreats to the physical side of Stoicism, because true resilience isn't just about sharpening the mind but also conditioning the body. The Stoics believed in the inseparable connection between physical and mental strength, a principle embodied by Cleans, one of Stoicism's early teachers, who famously worked as a water carrier by night to support his studies by day. His manual labor wasn't just about survival, it was a deliberate practice of discipline, proving that even the simplest physical tasks can train the will. Start with walking meditations, a practice Marcus Aurelius himself likely used during his campaigns. Instead of rushing through a walk, slow down. Pay attention to each step, the rhythm of your breath, and the sensations around you. This isn't just exercise, it's a moving meditation that anchors you in the present, blending movement with mindfulness. Next, embrace manual labor in small ways. Chop wood, carry groceries without complaint, or take the stairs instead of the elevator. These aren't just chores, they're opportunities to practice endurance and gratitude, just as cleans did. The goal isn't exhaustion but mindful engagement, reminding yourself that discomfort is a teacher, not an enemy. Finally, integrate short bursts of physical challenge into your routine. Cold showers, a few push-ups, or even holding a plank position can become Stoic exercises. The key is consistency, not intensity. As Epictetus said, no great thing is created suddenly. It's the daily repetition, the willingness to show up even when it's hard, that forges both muscle and character. Because when you train the body with intention, you're not just building strength, you're rehearsing resilience for life's bigger battles. Up next, we'll tackle the Stoic approach to taming desires, a practice just as demanding as any physical test. Now let's turn our attention inward, because mastering desire is where Stoicism meets the modern world head-on. Epictetus drew a powerful line between natural desires like food and shelter and vain desires like status and endless consumption. Today, that distinction couldn't be more relevant. Every scroll through social media, every targeted ad bombards us with manufactured wants, convincing us happiness lies in the next purchase or like. But Stoicism flips that script. Start by auditing your impulses. When you feel the pull to buy something new or refresh your feed, pause. Ask yourself, is this serving a real need or is it feeding an artificial hunger? Natural desires keep us alive and well. Vain desires keep us chasing shadows. The difference isn't just philosophical, it's practical. Every time you resist an unnecessary purchase or mute a comparison trap online, you're exercising what Epictetus called the discipline of desire, strengthening your ability to choose what truly matters. Next, practice contentment with what you already have. Social media thrives on making us feel lacking, but Stoicism teaches the opposite. Take 5 minutes each day to list 3 things you own or experiences you've had that bring genuine value. This isn't just gratitude, it's armor against the endless cycle of wanting. Finally, redefine what enough means. The Stoics didn't reject comfort, but they questioned excess. Try a 1-week challenge, cut non-essential shopping and reduce screen time by half. You'll likely discover, as Seneca did, that it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor. Because when you tame desire, you're not missing out, you're reclaiming freedom. Up next, we'll explore the Stoic pause, a simple but transformative tool for emotional control. Now let's shift gears to one of the most practical tools Stoicism offers for keeping emotions in check: the Stoic pause. Imagine your mind has a pause button, just like a remote control. When frustration, anger, or anxiety hits, you press it, not to suppress the feeling, but to create space between the trigger and your response. This simple gap is where wisdom lies. Epictetus put it bluntly, it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. Here's how to put that into action. First, recognize the physical signs: a clenched jaw, racing heart, or that heat rising in your chest. That's your cue to pause. Take one deep breath. In that moment, ask, is this reaction helping or harming me? Let's make it real with an example. Say your boss criticizes your work in front of the team. The immediate urge might be to snap back or spiral into self-doubt, but with the Stoic pause, you stop, you breathe, you remember that their words don't define you, and reacting impulsively won't solve anything. Instead, you might say, I'll review this and follow up, turning a potential conflict into a chance for growth. another crisis scenario, road rage, someone cuts you off, and your instinct is to honk or tailgate. Pause, remind yourself their actions are outside your control, but your calm is yours to keep. By refusing to let their mistake dictate your mood, you reclaim power over your day. The beauty of this practice is its universality. Whether it's a heated argument, a work disaster, or even bad news, the pause button technique gives you the clarity to respond with intention, not impulse. And with each pause, you're rewiring your brain to default to reason over reaction. Up next, we'll dive into how the Stoics approached reading, not as a pastime, but as training for the mind. Now let's explore how the Stoics turned reading into a mental workout, not just a way to pass the time. For them, books weren't entertainment, they were tools to sharpen the mind and fortify character. Marcus Aurelius carried Epictetus' teachings with him on military campaigns, and Seneca filled his letters with reading recommendations for his friends. The key wasn't to devour volumes, but to absorb wisdom deeply. Start by choosing just one Stoic text: Meditations, Letters from a Stoic, or the Discourses of Epictetus. Read a single passage each morning, slowly. Don't rush, let the words sink in. Ask yourself, how does this apply to my life today? Could this idea help me face a current challenge? The goal isn't to check off pages, but to let the philosophy reshape your thinking. Seneca warned against hopping from book to book, comparing it to a traveler who never stays long enough to know a place. Instead, revisit the same passages over weeks. You'll notice new layers each time, like sunlight revealing different shades in a stone. For example, read Marcus' reminder, you have power over your mind, not outside events, on a calm day, then again during a crisis. The words stay the same, but their impact deepens with your need. Pair your reading with action. After reflecting on Epictetus' lesson about controlling only what's within your sphere, test it. Next time traffic snarls or plans collapse, recall his words. That's when philosophy moves from theory to transformation. For those craving structure, try this daily rhythm. One page of Stoic wisdom with your coffee, one question to ponder during your commute, and one small experiment to apply before bed. Over time, these fragments build an unshakable inner citadel. Coming up, we'll step into the Stoic tradition of the evening review, a powerful way to reflect on the day's lessons and prepare for tomorrow. Now let's shift our focus to how the Stoics ended their days, not with mindless scrolling or collapsing into bed exhausted, but with purposeful reflection. The evening review, or examen, was their secret weapon for turning daily experiences into lifelong wisdom. While modern self-help often pushes us to chase productivity or positive thinking, the Stoics took a different path, one rooted in honest self-assessment and growth. Start by setting aside just 5 minutes before sleep. Ask yourself 2 simple questions. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? But here's the Stoic twist. Don't just tally wins and losses. Dig deeper. Did your actions align with the 4 virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance? When you snapped at a coworker, was that just? When you avoided a difficult conversation, was that courageous? Modern self-help might tell you to focus only on the positive or visualize success, but the Stoics believed in facing the truth head-on. Seneca wrote nightly reviews, dissecting his mistakes like a surgeon examining a wound, not to punish himself but to heal and improve. Imagine applying this to a modern scenario. After a day of missed deadlines, instead of just saying, "I'll try harder tomorrow," ask, "Did I waste time on distractions? Did I prioritize what truly matters?" Here's how to make it practical. Keep a journal by your bed, no fancy app required. Write 3 lines, 1 victory, 1 lesson, and 1 intention for tomorrow. For example, victory: I stayed calm during my kid's tantrum. Lesson: I skipped lunch and then made impatient decisions. Intention: tomorrow, I'll pause before responding to emails when hungry. The magic happens when you contrast this with typical self-help advice. While pop psychology might say, "Affirm your greatness," the Stoics whisper, affirm your humanity, then rise above it. Over time, these nightly check-ins become mirrors, not just for your actions, but for your character. Up next, we'll explore how the Stoics turned solitude into strength, because sometimes the loudest wisdom comes in silence. Now let's turn our attention to one of the most overlooked yet powerful Stoic practices, the strength of community. While Stoicism often emphasizes self-reliance, the ancient Stoics knew that growth flourishes in the company of others. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, didn't teach in isolation. He gathered students in the painted porch of Athens, creating a space where ideas were challenged, virtues were practiced collectively, and accountability was woven into daily life. Think of it this way: just as a single ember fades alone but ignites a fire when gathered with others, our commitment to Stoic principles grows stronger in community. Modern life can feel isolating, but the Stoics remind us that we're meant to learn and evolve together. Imagine forming a small group, even just 2 or 3 people, where you share daily reflections, discuss challenges, and hold each other to the standards of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Here's how to start. First, identify people who share your interest in growth, not just philosophically but practically. This could be a friend, a co-worker, or an online group. Set a simple structure, meet weekly, whether in person or virtually, and take turns sharing one Stoic lesson you applied that week and one struggle where you fell short. The key is honesty, not performative perfection. When Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations, he often addressed them to himself as a brother, a reminder that even emperors needed inner dialogue and outer support. Contrast this with modern self-improvement culture, where we often consume content alone. The Stoic circle flips that script. Instead of passively listening to podcasts, you engage in active dialogue. Instead of hiding setbacks, you air them openly, transforming them into collective wisdom. For example, if someone in your group admits they lost their temper at work, others might share how they've navigated similar moments using the discipline of assent or the view from above. The magic lies in consistency. Zeno's school lasted centuries because it wasn't built on grand gestures but on small, repeated acts of mutual reinforcement. Try this. End each meeting by choosing one Stoic exercise to practice together for the next week, like a shared gratitude ritual or a voluntary discomfort challenge. When you know you'll report back to others, you're far more likely to follow through. As we close this exploration of the 25 Stoic practices, remember that philosophy isn't just for solitary reflection, it's a torch meant to be passed. Whether you join an existing Stoic community or create your own, you're stepping into a tradition that turns wisdom into action, one conversation at a time. Now let's take a closer look at voluntary discomfort, a practice that goes beyond the basics and taps into some fascinating science. You might remember earlier how we discussed simple challenges like cold showers or fasting, but there's so much more to uncover. The Stoics didn't just endure hardship for its own sake. They understood something profound about how struggle strengthens us, both mentally and physically. Modern science calls this concept hormesis, the idea that small doses of stress actually make us more resilient. Think of it like lifting weights. The right amount of strain breaks down muscle fibers so they grow back stronger. The same principle applies to our minds. Take Navy SEAL training, for example. These elite warriors push themselves to extremes, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know it forges unshakable resilience. Sleep deprivation, freezing water, grueling marches, each challenge is designed to teach them how to function under pressure, to adapt when everything in their body screams to quit. And here's the Stoic twist: they're not just training their bodies, they're conditioning their minds to stay calm and focused even in chaos, just like Epictetus taught when he said, "Difficulties show what men are." But you don't need to sign up for Hell Week to benefit from this. Start small but intentional. If you're new to cold exposure, try ending your shower with 30 seconds of cold water, then gradually increase the time. Notice how your breath quickens, how your mind races, then practice steadying both. That's Stoicism in action. Or take a page from the science of hormesis by incorporating intermittent fasting. Skipping a meal isn't just about discipline. It teaches your body to thrive under mild stress, improving everything from metabolism to mental clarity. The key is progression. Just as a runner doesn't start with a marathon, you shouldn't leap into extreme discomfort without building up to it. Track your efforts, reflect on how each challenge changes your perspective, and most importantly, connect it back to Stoic virtue. Are you cultivating courage by facing fear, temperance by resisting comfort? That's how voluntary discomfort becomes more than a workout, it becomes a way of life. And here's the real payoff. When life inevitably throws unexpected hardships your way, you won't panic. You'll have trained for this. Whether it's a job loss, a health scare, or a personal setback, you'll have the mental muscle to see obstacles as opportunities, just as the Stoics did. Because in the end, that's what this practice is all about, not seeking pain, but preparing for life. Now let's shift our focus to another powerful Stoic practice, silence, but with a modern twist. In a world where notifications constantly demand our attention, the ancient Stoic discipline of intentional silence becomes more relevant than ever. Musonius Rufus, one of the great Stoic teachers, famously emphasized the value of controlling speech to cultivate patience and clarity. But today, the challenge isn't just about holding our tongues, it's about quieting the digital noise that floods our minds. Imagine this: you wake up and instead of reaching for your phone, you sit in stillness for 5 minutes. No emails, no social media, no news alerts, just you and your thoughts. This is digital detox through a Stoic lens. The goal isn't to abandon technology altogether, but to create intentional gaps of silence, training your mind to resist the pull of endless distraction. Think of it as mental weightlifting. Just as voluntary discomfort strengthens resilience, deliberate silence sharpens focus and reduces anxiety. Here's your 7-day challenge to put this into action. On day 1, start small. Leave your phone outside the bedroom and begin your morning without screens. Notice how your mind reacts: the itch to check messages, the habit of filling silence with stimulation. By day 3, extend this to meal times, eating without scrolling. The Stoics called this the discipline of assent, pausing before reacting to impulses. By day 5, carve out an hour for a walk or reading, device-free. Use this time to reflect, journal, or simply observe the world around you. The final 2 days are about deepening the practice. Try a full evening without screens, replacing them with conversation, meditation, or a hobby that demands your full attention. The key is to observe the mental space that opens up when you step away from constant input. You'll likely find, as the Stoics did, that silence isn't empty, it's where clarity grows. By the end of the week, you won't just have detoxed from technology, you'll have trained your mind to reclaim agency over your attention. And that's the heart of Stoic silence, not deprivation but mastery. When you choose where to direct your focus, you're no longer at the mercy of every ping and alert. You're living intentionally, just as the Stoics taught. Ready to take it further, try integrating 1 silent hour into each day, even after the challenge ends. It's in these quiet moments that we often hear our wisest thoughts. Now let's turn our attention to another layer of Stoic wisdom: how to handle public criticism. Fame and scrutiny aren't modern inventions. Even the Stoics faced their share of backlash, and none navigated it more skillfully than Seneca. As an advisor to Emperor Nero, he was constantly in the public eye, weathering political storms and personal attacks. His approach: treat criticism like weather, unpredictable, uncontrollable, and ultimately harmless unless you let it erode your peace. Take Seneca's exile as a case study. When he was banished under false accusations, he didn't rage or crumble. Instead, he reframed it as an opportunity, writing, "Exile is not a punishment but a change of place." He focused on what he could control: his mindset and his work. This is the Stoic art of redefining the narrative, shifting attention from the insult to your response. Fast forward to today, and celebrities face similar trials. Consider a modern example like actor Keanu Reeves, who's faced everything from career slumps to viral mockery. His response, quiet dignity. He doesn't engage in public feuds or defensive posts. Like Seneca, he understands that reacting often fuels the fire while indifference starves it. Or look at Taylor Swift, who transformed public shaming into creative fuel, turning criticism into chart-topping albums. Both embody the Stoic practice of turning obstacles into advantage, using external noise to refine their craft rather than derail their purpose. So how can you apply this? First, ask, is this criticism within my control? If it's baseless gossip or online trolling, follow Seneca's lead, ignore what doesn't serve your growth. If there's truth in it, treat it as feedback, not failure. Second, practice premeditation. Anticipate criticism in your field, whether you're a creator, leader, or public figure, and rehearse calm responses. Finally, adopt the view from above. Imagine looking down at the situation from a cosmic perspective. How much will this matter in a year, in a lifetime? The Stoic secret isn't avoiding criticism, it's rendering it powerless. When you stop fearing opinions, you reclaim your freedom. As Seneca wrote, the bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. That struggle isn't about winning approval, it's about mastering yourself. Up next, we'll explore how Stoics like Marcus Aurelius used solitude not as escape, but as a tool for unshakable clarity. And with that, we've journeyed through 25 powerful Stoic practices designed to transform your daily life. From morning reflections to evening reviews, each tool we've explored is a stepping stone toward resilience, clarity, and unshakable motivation. Think of these not as rigid rules, but as a toolkit. You don't need to use them all at once. Start small. Maybe today you'll pause before reacting to a frustrating email, embracing the Stoic pause. Or perhaps you'll end your day with gratitude, reflecting on 3 things that went well. The beauty of Stoicism is its flexibility. It meets you where you are. Now here's your challenge. Pick one practice from these 25, just one, and commit to it for the next week. Watch how it shifts your perspective. Does journaling like Marcus Aurelius bring you clarity? Does voluntary discomfort make you appreciate what you have? Share your choice in the comments below. Let's build a community of modern Stoics, learning and growing together. If this video resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button, subscribe for more wisdom to fuel your journey, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a lesson. Remember, philosophy isn't just for ancient times, it's for right now. Your next step, take action. The path to a stronger mind starts today.